whole, you know?
Greetings. Introducing Voices of Festival, a brand new podcast series from the International African Arts Festival, created to keep you connected as we count down to our 55th year of culture, creativity, and community. Each week, hear directly from the artists, dancers, musicians, vendors, and community members who make this festival an unforgettable experience. Tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. on YouTube for Voices of Festival. Celebrate the culture, feel the rhythm, be part of the journey.
Peace, peace, peace. Greetings. Asante Sana, Hotep, Salam Alaikum. What else? Yo, what's good? What else we got? Shout out to all our viewers. This is Real Guy Beware.
Greetings.
And my this beautiful co-host, Sakina and Zinga Kennard. We have a really good show for you today, as we do every week. You know, we represent festival. We got the energy is way up here, and we're looking forward to it. Sakina, what do you say about this week's show?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to bring my brother on. Is a dear friend of mine, Messiah Ramkissoon, who we have known each other for about 20 years, and he has performed at festival for a number of years. He has graced us with his presence on our stages.
Son also, correct?
Huh?
He's a son of festival. Is that accurate?
Definitely. A son of festival. I don't know if he grew up going to festival, but he's definitely a very loyal supporter of the International African Arts Festival.
And you guys will not wait till you hear what this brother has to share. I mean, his journey is very special, is very unique. Where he is in his career. Shout out to him because he's really putting that work in. And you guys get to hear all about it this evening. So I'm not even going to hold you up any longer because I want to get to this brother, because I want to get to the story, because this is inspiring. It's compelling. And we really want you guys to hear the story. So with no further delay, Sakina.
Yes, I will. We always begin. We honor our ancestors. Okay. And so I will do my ancestral roll call of veneration. Start off by saying Ibaye Bayantanu. Ibaye Bayantanu means we give honor and we give praise to. So Ibaye Bayantanu Mama Koumba. Ibaye Bayantanu Mama Amanisha. Ibaye Bayantanu Mama Ladi. Ibaye Bayantanu Mama Bird. Ibaye Bayantanu Baba G2 Weyusi. Ibaye Bayantanu Baba MZ Moyo. Iban Bantanu, Baba Stan Kennard. Iban Bantanu, Brother Abubadika. Iban Bantanu, Mama Asada Shakur. Iban Bantanu, Brother Dick Gregory. Iban Bantanu, Brother Kuja Bandele. Iban Bantanu, Imam Jamil Al Amin, aka H. Rat Brown. Iban Bantanu, Ia Salima Moyo. Iban Bantanu, Baba Bernard Kinsey. Iban Bantanu, Mama Stephanie Weaver. Iban Bantanu, Baba Lloyd Weaver. Iban Bantanu, Sister Sandra Hay. Iban Bantanu, Brother Michael Hay. Iban Bantanu, Baba Alafia Shango Deyi. Iban Bantanu, Baba Chief Bay. Iban Bantanu, Baba Aluka Shea Wali. Iban Bantanu, Mama Ambimbola Wali. Iban Bantanu, Baba Heru. Iban Bantanu, Baba Paua. Iban Bantanu, Sister Viola Plummer. Iban Bantanu, Brother Yusuf Iman. Iban Bantanu, Sister Dara Iman. Iban Bantanu, Atiba Cord. Iban Bantanu, Sunra. Iban Bantanu, Clarence Eastman. Iban Bantanu, Brother Al Van. Iban Bantanu, Brother Sam Penn. Iban Bantanu, Brother John Hicks. Iban Bantanu, Hugh Masakela. Iban Bantanu, Brother Bob Law. Iban Bantanu, Sister Mantu Law. Iban Bantanu, Nana Kweyao Aji Apon. Iban Bantanu, Baba Canute Bernard Jr. Iban Bantanu, Baba Abu Bakar. Iban Bantanu, Sister Jamia Van Zant. Iban Bantanu, Sister Misa Van Zant. Iban Bantanu Nana Dini Zulu. Iban Bantanu Nana Kweku Owusu Aboje. Iban Bantanu to all of our community leaders, all of our freedom fighters, all of our elders whose shoulders we stand upon, whose strength we hold on to. We give honor and we give praise to them and we thank them. Okay.
And again, if you're just tuning into us, this is something that we do every week. And it's very important as to why we do this. And just really quickly, let me just share, give you an example. So you guys have in whatever town or whatever city, state you live in, there's statues and monuments and plaques that you may see up all over town. I mean, throughout New York City, you just see them all over the place. In Central Park, all downtown, Columbus Square, Union Square, all of that stuff. When you see these people on horses and on carriages and doing things, this is the powers that be acknowledging those that came before them. When you take for work, Washington's Day, Lincoln's Day, the President's Day, Veterans Day, these are days that are set aside by the dominant culture so that they can honor and have everybody honor the people that put them in the position that they're in. So for us, it's intricate for us to honor those that came before us, because if it wasn't for them, we would not be here. We would not have life. And they pass life on to us, which is a grave responsibility, because now it's our turn, it's our job and our responsibility to show those coming behind us so they can show the ones coming behind them. It's each one. This is how it becomes generational. And that's why festival is important, because festival is the epitome, it's the epitome, the epitome of what passing on institutions from one generation to the other, from one family, one generational family lineage to the next generation family lineage. And I say family, doesn't necessarily have to be blood related. It could be mission related. It could be purpose related. It could be community related. Many of us have closer relationships with our community members, our family members, our team members, our organizational members than we do our own blood. And that's not shame or shade over there, but it's just to show you how important us being connected is. And not just because we're physically, but those who are no longer physical, we want to stay connected to them. So as Sakina's giving the Ibabai Tanus and honoring those who walked this festival journey, who stood in these festival shoes, sat in these festival seats, and moved this thing forward and passed it on to us. So for them, we are grateful. Ibabai Tanu, all of those who came to us. And I just wanted to share that just so people understand, especially for our younger viewers. We got to honor those who came before us and do your research so you know who they were, what they were about, and what they stood for, right?
Yes, definitely. And this week, I did not mention, but we must not forget to mention and to, do your research on as Marcus Garvey's birthday was this week, August 17th. So we honor him as well. We honor him.
The day before our birthday, me and Sakina are born on the same exact day, August 18th. Just celebrated our Earth Strong. The day after the Honorable Messiah Garvey, Marcus Garvey. So we're all Leos. Shout out to every Leo, all the Leos, all the Lions.
Yes. And without further ado, we're going to introduce our guest, who is also a Leo, born on the 1st of August. Right? So we're having a nice Leo session today, right? As we're closing out Leo season on 8/20, right? So, but this... Yeah, we at the end, but we going out with a bang. It's all good, but let us, with this episode, we are sitting down with a poet, a hip hop artist, a youth advocate, and the newly appointed executive director of the Youth Justice Network. His name is Messiah Ramkissoon. And we are going to be exploring healing in hip hop through his new album, The Healing Conversation, aka THC. And he has nearly 2 decades of work with young people that have been impacted by the justice system. So without further ado, please let's welcome my brother, Messiah Ramkissoon.
Peace. Thank you for having me.
Peace. What up?
It's a pleasure to have you, sir.
It's an honor to be here with you on this blessed platform.
And please mention any of your, people, your elders that you would like to mention, because we just got finished bigging up people. So if you have any big, strong people that you want to mention, you can do that.
Absolutely. My grandmother Maudlin, granddaddy Ramkey, granddaddy Creep Buck, grandma Madeline Johnson, granddaddy Lamb. Yeah. Thank you. I say.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, my brother, you hail from the island of Trinidad. Yes?
I do.
Take us back. What did your Caribbean upbringing teach you about music, spirituality, and the power of words? That's my first question.
That's a beautiful question. So yes, I was birthed in the land of Trinidad. More specifically, I come from a village called Mayaro. So if you Google Trinidad, you see the southeast borough of Trinidad. That's Mayaro, and that coastline, the Atlantic Ocean. So that ocean is about a block or so from where my family and I grew up. So when you take a boat in that ocean, from one side, you could actually see Venezuela. That's how close we are to South America coast. You go to the other side, it takes you to what they call the port of Benin, West Africa, where you have Ghana and Benin and those West African countries. So I'm really a child who's birthed and burped out of the Atlantic Ocean. I grew up on the beach every day. I'm from a land where survival off land is still a real thing. You got this one who's in coconut trees and got coconut water for sale. You got the other one who's out there at 4:30 in the morning when, they blow the horns through the shells and they know it's time to fish and they out there rope for hours, right? And then the trucks come and that's how a lot of village men are able to either take something home for their wives to cook or be able to provide for their families. So I grew up in an environment. But when you mention August 1st, my born day, I'm also born on Trinidad's Emancipation Day. So when you talk about the correlation of the music and the power of the word, every morning on we talked about the International African Arts Festival, right? So I saw that as a child growing up on my stoop every born day on August 1st, with the African drummers and the steel pan and the dancers would come down what we call Plaisance Road, which is the strip you to the beach, the block where my family, my father, my uncles, my grandparents, my aunts, where I was birthed. And so, that culture is where I derived from before I even picked up a pen. And so at the age of 4 is when I really started, writing, but my writing was more unconventional. I always had a direct line to the Most High. And so my writing initially was conveyance of letters to God. And it was a time when I was very young when my parents separated. And I felt that was the outlet for me to be able to speak to a source that I knew would have understanding. The time was, being so sensitive in age where you didn't feel comfortable speaking to any elders around you about just discomfort, and that was my first introduction, not just to writing, but also to discomfort, right? And it's interesting when they say like some of the best art is birthed through pain. But at that time, I didn't package myself as an artist at 4. I just knew that I had an outlet to talk to God through the pen. And, that light is birthed from triple darkness, and I've seen that through my own process. We come out the womb, out of darkness, birth into the light, right? So my process was say congruent to such.
Nice. And you say you were writing at 4, which is genius in of itself, because my 4-year-old's not writing yet.
Well, but I was writing books, but I was definitely writing notes, and that Trinidadian background, I also came
Mhm.
from a disciplined home. My father, salute to him and my mom. My
Mhm.
dad, very disciplined. He went into Rastafari before I was born. He left home at the
Mhm.
about 17. At that time, Rasta was not as, I would
Wow.
say, praised and embraced and socialized as it is now, right? So now
Mhm.
ads and commercials and movies where Rastas are praised. But at that time, Rastaman was seen as a black sheep, even to his own family. So my father, he grew up in, if you know anything about the Caribbean, it's a lot of, religion in terms of infrastructure, right? Many of
Mhm.
which was derived from the years of conditioning and colonization. So, he grew up in a house that was, my grandmother was practicing Catholicism, right, as a mother of 10
Mhm.
children. And so my father, at the age of 17, he said, no, this ain't it for me. I'm going into Rastafari. And that was at a time all the Rasta men was going to live in the wilderness, right? So you talk
Mhm.
about the Caribbean, the mindset was really, we're not even buying clothes out their stores. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It was really anti-capitalism in a way that some in this time capsule may consider too revolutionary, even though they may identify themselves as revolutionaries, right?
Mhm.
So at
Mhm.
that time, you know, especially being in an island, brothers and sisters could live off land. So my mom, being a young woman, she was about 19. She was coming around Mayaro because she went to school with my father's sisters, and that's how he started courting her. So
Mhm.
pregnant with me, they were actually living in the forest, the Rasta community, and they had their own camps that were built, and they had their own
Wow.
food. They were growing their own food. They had the fresh spring water running through the mountains right there, and it was time for me to be birthed. It was time for me to be born. My mother came out to the hospital. It was called Sandra Grande Hospital because Mayaro didn't have a hospital at that time. So it was an elder from the Rasta movement they called Mama, and she came to the hospital when I was birthed and saw me there and told my parents, "You should name him Messiah." And so to answer your question, those were the roots. I didn't get myself here, but as you talk about those elders and ancestors,
Mhm.
she was ancestor Mama. That I would love to acknowledge at this time because that's how my name came to fruition. So thank.
Mhm. Beautiful, powerful, powerful, powerful story, powerful upbringing. And Rasta have always been welcome at the International African Arts Festival. So those times, when it wasn't cool to be, we were we were definitely there and present at the festival back in the 80s, back in the 90s. It was always a presence. And thank you for sharing that story. That's a powerful story. You're
To
born
the
to be here.
International
You're blessed.
Arts
You're blessed beyond
Salute to
measure.
the African Arts Fest for just being a
Mhm.
conduit for our culture because we're multifaceted. I mean, even in Trinidad, you
Mhm.
see brothers who are Rasta and Muslim, and you might not even understand that equation, right? But it's not to be understood. It's their journey.
Mhm.
So, one
Mhm.
of my childhood elders, Abdul Kareem, Rasta and Muslim,
Mhm.
brother, right?
Mhm.
So because what you start realizing is that there's a oneness. So brothers who go on that conquest and search, they start realizing that although there's a variation of approach, there's that common thread that ties us all together as family. You know,
Mhm. Now, you came to the U.S. at 11 and experienced both immigration and the justice systems yourself. How did those experiences shape the artist and the advocate that you became?
Next question.
resilience. It was the extra edge that was needed. In those moments
Mhm.
that you never know, right? And I will say that this was before the Trump era, right? So we're talking about coming here in '94. My father, I gave you the background on the family. I want to also acknowledge my spiritual mother, Queen Ayasudabey, who was my father's second wife. And so I was homeschooled,
Mhm.
at a very young age. And I did go through my runs with the immigration and the justice system, and nothing because of any activities on the criminal side that led to that, but really because of many other children who come to this country. Parents will bring you at the age of 2, 4, 5. For me, it was age 11, and many of us are brought here but didn't get our paperwork in terms of immigration and residential, the residential process that's needed for your green card and all of these things completed at a very young age. So we had to
Mhm.
grow up as young adults and face the system ourselves. And that's also a trap in itself, right? When you understand the
Mhm.
land that we're in, it's another frame of colonization, manipulation, control, where a lot of these superpowers are able to go into our third world countries where our brothers and sisters are, exploit and explore and monetize and suck the life out of our people internationally. And we realize that when we talk about the immigration, quote unquote, injustice system here, it really only pertains to those of us who are melanated people. You don't hear about people from Spain and these other European countries going through, hey, there was a deportation raid and 20, 30, 50 people were sent back to Spain, but that there are people here from all aspects of the world. And so just to think that we're still in the mindset, of what, even when we think about, our brothers and sisters, the natives, and what they went through, right?
Mhm.
The struggle just keeps getting remixed in different versions from time to time. It keeps evolving. And so what we have to do though is remember who we are and not get confused by it, right? Because as much as
Mhm.
this brother might be from Nigeria, the other brother might be from Benin, and the other brother might be from Kenya, and the other brother might be from Trinidad, and the other brother might be from Brooklyn, right? While we all have distinct variation in terms of where we grew up, we are melanated people. And so we must never get it confused where we allow the oppressor now to start moving the goalposts and we start falling for it and allowing that to be how we frame each other, right? It's great to
Mhm.
love yourselves and say, hey, I'm a national this, or I'm a foundational this, or I'm a Trinidadian this, or I'm a Jamaican that. But like
Mhm.
Malcolm said something very real, and I quote this a lot. Malcolm said, if I take this hand and I slap you, he said, you might be still looking at me. He said, but if I really want to make an impact, you know what it is, beware. He said, all I got to do is bring these digits together and strike. He said, it's going to be a lot different than the slap, right? And so we are the only majority who go above and beyond to be the minority, right? And I think we got to wake up and really realize the power of that collectivism while still appreciating our authenticity based on our respective spaces.
Okay.
Well said. Well said. I want to really, jump into your music, because you how you coined your music as that is healing music. Talk about that. Talk about why did you choose that route? You could
Yes,
have
sir.
gone any route. Historically, in this capitalistic society we live in, healing, gospel, loving, affirming, empowering music. That's never been something that people monetize off, right?
Right.
So it doesn't give you that big house in the hill and the big and new car and the gold, and it doesn't give you that. It is, however, a form of expression. So with that being said, why did you choose that route versus going toward, because you're extremely talented and you could have easily went that route and popped off. Yeah, it popped off in whatever you chose to do in that way. But why this route?
Great question, my brother. It hits home, and I will say that I had to do what's real for my own experiences as a man. Like I can't be going through a certain chapter of my own experience and my music not mirror that, my art not mirror that. It wouldn't be real for me it wouldn't inspire me to even create,
Sure.
right? So what we're hearing with the healing conversation is really the healing starting with me, with my family, with my village. And so, a lot of things just within these last, I would say, several years that, as artists, we need a call to action. And I who are really, to your point, not driven by the capitalistic catalysts to create. Now, we do understand this is a business as well, right? So as artists, we're gonna have products, we're gonna sell products, we're gonna do shows, we're gonna have merch, right? We're gonna make sure that we're business oriented, but that's not the root in terms of what creates art, right?
Sure.
That's not the inspiration. So for myself, brother, you know, it takes that fire within me where something is pulling me closer to the pen. It has to be that magnet. And I'll honestly say it's not an everyday thing. You know, I got to get out there and live. I got to get out there and really do life in a real direct way without even thinking about it from for art,
Sure.
right? And in those moments where the Most High choose to channel you, you know, you got to really embrace that moment in terms of listening. And so what I did was I listened, and I knew the art was calling me again. You know, producers were knocking on my door. I knew it was that season, right? And but the most important question was, what is the message in this time capsule,
Mm,
right? And to quote Bruce Lee, "Be like water." I had to really delve in more in terms of where I currently was and internalize my own process as a man even more, right? I had to do the inside conversations before I can go in the studio and record the healing conversations. I had to
mm,
ask the questions to me. I had to look in the mirror and say, okay, what are the areas of and chapters of evolution that you've learned most from, that's impacted you the most in these past couple of years? What are the areas that are the most uncomfortable? What are the areas that has made you, I would say, most scarred, right? What are the areas that were the most, I would say, challenging, but also what are the areas that were the most beautiful, right? What are the areas that we want to live for? What are the areas where no matter what you've been through, you want to still multiply beauty within, right?
Mhm.
And I still
Mhm.
really have those safe spaces with my brother, and I started spending more time in nature with the elements, right? Getting out there in the ocean, getting out there in the, you know, even being a New Yorker, you know what I mean? Finding time in the park and finding the deepest end of the park away from the streets where I could really, you know what I'm saying? And that, man, that allowed something beautiful, you know, because the album for me, it never writes itself. It takes that level of vulnerability with higher force and tap it into that core. And so and there were things happening, right? You know, I saw my family going through things around me that were personal, and you know, people losing loved ones and not knowing how to have the conversations and just silently going through the pain, because in our community, you know, oftentimes most people don't know how to talk about it, they just know how to survive it. And so I said, man, if I could create something that even when my folks listen to it, you know, this is their therapy. You know what I mean? They might not have that person to counsel them, or that they even feel comfortable having that kind of collectivism with, you know, like most people will go to a therapist or go to counseling. But at least if the artist, you know, can really own that space to let them know, yo, bro, I'm bleeding like you bleeding. You know, I'm hurting like you hurting, black man. You know what I'm saying? And but I do know though, the light is waiting for us. I do know though,
Mhm.
blessing is waiting for us. And I do know that the only way for us to bridge the gap between the pain and the blessing is to commit to process. And what it may look like for you may be different than what it looks like for me. But the only way to know what it looks like is through relentless submission. And so that's what I did. I fully submitted. And that's how this body of art was created, Beware.
to all our viewers, we are having a very, very intimate, and we're having a cipher with Brother Messiah Ramkissoon right now. And he's really dropping some jewels. And if you're not familiar with this brother's music, I really want you to get familiar with his music, get familiar with who he is and what he stands for. And the reason why I'm saying this is because your type of artists are rare in this day and age, right? And we have to be able to honor you and take care of you. Um, Recently, we had some other artists on here, John Medicine, who are on a very similar mission as you are, where they're healing, they're empowering, they're educating, and uplifting our people through their music, through their art. and we had a really, really good conversation. I'm going to present to you a question that I presented to them. When I talked about conscious artists, conscious hip hop artists, they were like, they weren't too happy with that title, even though that's what they were doing and that's part of what they were doing, but they were against being put in a box, right? So now to you, I'm going to present the same question. When you hear the word conscious hip hop artist, do you feel that they're speaking about you, that title fits you? If so, explain why, and if not, explain why.
I'm laughing because I deal with this is like just this is real. This is real, right? We deal with this a lot. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to hold in the laugh while you get the question out because I mean you can't stop. It's inevitable, man. And I think like trying to fight it is really just what this is just my vantage point. I think like human beings are conditioned to categorize, right? Even when you sign up in this business and you step out and you talk to people in the business, what's one of the questions they always ask? Who's your audience? Right? Who's your audience? Right? So you talking about my audience can't be the brother who goes to the International African Arts Festival, but also the brother who probably doesn't go there, but he's probably just coming home from Rikers Island. Another brother may have an addiction to gambling and strip clubs. This might be therapy for him too, right?
Yeah.
This might be a medicine for him too, right? So, the other brother might be on the block trying to, put his pieces together and ducking the cameras, and the other brother might be going to work, putting a suit and tie on every day. So I think what's important is we don't put ourselves in a box, right? As far as the audience, going to be people who a lot of it is based on their education bandwidth. A lot of it is based on what their exposure bandwidth. You know what I mean? And what we do oftentimes is an anomaly in this saturated industry, right? So when folks hear it immediately, when they see me, when they ask me, you want to Bob Marley's nephews or something, immediately they're gonna put you in a box,
On the
right?
box.
When I get on that stage, beware. When I get on that stage, Sakina, right? And by the time I walk off that stage, the art has
Speaks
to
for
make it.
itself.
The art
Was some.
has the art has no limits. You can't put that in the box though,
Sure.
right? You look at me but oftentimes that's just them trying to figure you out. That's them trying to make a connotation of what's before their eyes. And they see light, and light is not oftentimes the dominant factor in this music business. So initially, they want to say, hey, that's that conscious rap. And there are people who say that sometimes because factor involved, right? Who don't want our voices to be heard, and many who see our voices as a threat to the agenda. We don't have to get into the agenda right now, but the agenda is very layered. And it goes back before hip hop. It goes back to what Malcolm and these brothers were fighting against, right? And so, for the artist with a voice, with a message, I will say the best way to really maximize in this time is to stay consistent, keep showing up, and block out all the noise. Focus on the people that respond to you. I don't care if it's 10 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like you trying to win everybody else to see you a certain way, to frame you a certain way. It's gonna drive you crazy, man. Pour into the reciprocity, to where the love is. Like I'm not trying to go and chase whatever platform that's not thinking about me and persuade them to. I'm here with the International African Arts family, and that's who I want to respond to. The people who see value in what I'm doing. They talking to me. I want to talk back to them. Now,
Mhm.
can't control it all, except what they used to tell us when we used to teach the youth on Rikers Island, step 3 in the therapy session, which you can't control, man.
Right. Listen, it was some
Don't
right pieces of that thing.
It's not. They gonna do what they gonna do, but what we
I
do,
was,
I
I was just gonna ask you, because you've worked with young people impacted by incarceration for like nearly 2 decades. Like, what have those young people taught you about healing?
Mm.
Wow, wow, wow. It taught me a lot. Wow, good question. I don't even know, but it's layered, right? And I will say that doing this work, you run into truths that you don't ask for, but because of your presence, you encounter them quite naturally. And I will say what young people, one thing they've taught me how important it is for the family component, not just the youth, right? In order to heal the village, you can't just focus on a particular part of the family. You have to holistically support, and oftentimes resources are limited. Resources are tailored towards a specific demographic. So you have programs that are for fathers. You have programs that are funded for women who are, maybe dealing with battering and domestic violence and these different things. You have programs for children who are coming out of the justice system, right? But very rare do you have programs that are holistically looking to heal the home,
Ashe.
right? Investments
Mm-hmm.
that really, investments that are really grandiose that can really affect change. Oftentimes, where there is investment, it's too minute to really peel back layers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with the young people that I've supported over the past decades, um, we listen, we go in these spaces, and we create safe space for them to be children. Many of them have never had opportunities to even be a child because, they had to skip steps in the spirit of just provision and survival and watching their back. And survival is not just about making a dollar with our youth anymore. It's about surviving. Like, our youth are
Mm-hmm.
really poor, right? And it's them versus them, but it's also them versus um, Babylon. You know what I'm saying?
Ashe.
And so we gotta look at this like it's real for our children. And so they've
Mm-hmm.
taught the importance of, not just the resources in terms of, them needing sustainability with employment readiness and job placement and education. But they've also taught me that none of it is sustainable if the healing isn't in place, right?
Mm.
Because generational trauma we're dealing with. And I speak about this many times, and it hurt me, when I got that phone call from my mother one day at the office, and she was saying, my son is coming home soon, but I'm scared because I feel like Rikers Island is safer to him than our neighborhood, right? She said, I'm scared for she said, I'm scared for my boy to walk to the bodega, you know. When you deal with children who start telling you things about, seeing their parents, their young boy one time, it's just so much that you hear, a lot of these kids have seen their parents murdered in front of them, they've seen things in their lives that uh, was never addressed when they got picked up for their crimes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even though we live in a nation that commits war crimes and can kill innocent people just to um, commit to an agenda that's of their own. We got children who didn't ask for the conditions that they inherited, but yet were born into, right? That are being held accountable for these conditions that America created. So this is something that is layered, and they've taught me the importance of creating safe space. They've taught me the importance of, like I said earlier, the holistic family component. It
Mm-hmm.
is to really, you know, advocate for resources and safe space for families as well, right? Many parents are fighting things like, substance abuse and suicidal ideation and many different things, right? But it doesn't mean they don't love that child. You might look at that mother that's on crack every day, and you may be really condescending her for for her parenting style, right? And
Mm-hmm.
while there may be truth in some of what you may be critiquing, it definitely doesn't compromise the love that she has for that child. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to look at this from the sense of more from a root versus reaction. And so that healing piece is definitely something that I've seen um grow over the years in terms of conversation. I think when I started this work, it definitely wasn't at the forefront. We now have a component at our organization, Youth Justice Network, called the Wellness Trust. Um,
Mm-hmm.
a sister named Lisa, uh, who's the director of that initiative and dealing with a lot of the the wellness and emotional well-being, and we're looking to build that out even more, right? So much work to be done, so much need in that space when you talk about the healing as it relates to our young people in the village. But it's definitely something that through time I've gained greater value in terms of committing to that process and the work.
You know,
Thank you.
shout out to you, Miss Laugh, for that, and to all of our viewers. You know, for those of us who are parents and those who are maybe grandparents, I really want you to share this these episodes, not just this one, but share these episodes with your children. Listen to how this brother is speaking. Listen to the language, the energy, the vocabulary that he's using. Look what he's using his music to do, to heal our people, to inspire our people. This is the kind of brother, this is the kind of black man that we want our children seeing. No shade to brothers who may live differently and put their focus in different areas. But because of the condition that we're dealing with, you talked about what was passed down to the children, even what would not have been them sins of their own. For us who are born in America, this situation was passed down to us. And even though it's passed down to us, they passed down some ways and some rules and some lifestyle approaches that we can implement, that we can use in our life so that we can be able to be successful on this sojourn. This brother right here is an example of that. So you have young children, get them to listen to his music. Get them to hear what this young brother is saying, because this is life. This is life. This is medicine. This is healing.
This is that healing artisan energy that surrounds that festival, you know?
And this is why festival is so important, because even when you didn't realize it, when this brother was on the stage, he was giving you medicine and you didn't realize you was getting healed. That's why festival is so important, because this institution, it taps into your spirit, it taps into your mind, it taps into your cultural ancestral lineage, your tribal lineage, your community and activism, responsibilities and obligations. It taps into all of that. And you feel compelled and you know that you have a responsibility or some area, whether you're performing, whether you're working on the board, whether you are attending, whether you are following us on social media or following us on YouTube, whether you are making a donation, whether you are participating in the Drive for 55. There's so many avenues and lanes that you can participate with festival. You don't have to just be an artist. You don't have to be a backstage person. You could just be a person that cares about your community and you want to play your role in moving the community forward. And this brother is an example of the type of energy products and medicine that the festival is making sure that our people receive.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta give you your salute, Messiah, because and everything that you speak about, you function with purpose over popularity always, and you know the impact that you've made amongst the youth, amongst your followers, is tremendous, and you know, so we definitely salute you over here for the work that you do in the community. And, you know, just listening to you speak about, you know, the people that you interact with on the daily as an executive director, and you can just hear how these stories, these experiences influence your art, you know, and give you more purpose in terms of your expression. So you know, can you walk me through the healing conversation? Because this is the title of your new album, THC, which also gives me some form of like, you know, euphoria. Because I'm like, yes, THC, healing conversation.
See what we did.
Yeah, man. Is it possible for you to do a piece?
Yeah.
Maybe the spoken word. Just give us a little tidbit.
something, son.
A little sample of a sample, a sampler of a sample.
Sample of a sample. I think it was the last. I think it was the last one on the album that spoken word piece.
All right.
This is acapella.
Let's have some fun.
Sounds so fun.
Only the strong survive. I am not a victim. I was born to fly. I am not a chicken. I don't need a campaign against the opposition. I just reclaim my power. No politician. Enter the age of Aquarius. Elohim, light beings, angels, and chariots. The awakening is like Jamaicans when they became Rastafarians. We built an entrance from the fences and barriers. No reparations, no help, no amnesty. Just knowledge itself of my ancestry. Set free from the chains of oppression, not by Abraham Lincoln, by a change in my thinking. Heart to free slaves whose psyche give up freedom for Gucci, Pooh Shiesty. We the children of royalty, blue ivy. Our history didn't begin in keeping shoes shiny. Unlock the mind shackles. Enter the macro womb, a room where time travels, transcending time capsules, cap tassels, shift as we graduate from dimension one, remembering who you are, dementia done. Anatomy says bye, but the battery ain't die. The engine run. Area 151, where we go from kings to kingdom come, where we go from thinking to get it done, maximizing the power of manifestation, amplifying louder every affirmation, solving our divisions math equation by allowing the ego's assassination. Sage fire, libation and fire, energy doctor, sound healer, vibrating higher, open chakra, Wakanda's vibranium empire. If Earth is flat, then it's time for a change of the tire. Feel the lunar pull when the moon is full, uniting just the righteous, the rumors. We ain't waiting till the funeral to come together. We uprise in the sun shining upon the river, dancing with destiny while presently in the moment awoken.
Powerful.
You hear them lyrics, man. You hear the bars. You hear them.
Let me check out that's
THC, the healing conversation.
but sis asked for that because it was the outro, and it is the outro, and she was at the Atlanta album listening session recently, so she got a chance to get an early preview for the people. But y'all don't quite know that's on there yet until August 21st. But check out the new single, Mandatory Healing. Right? Yeah, 24 hours. So check out that new single, Mandatory Healing. You know what I'm saying? That's been the one that we've been pushing this summer. Before you pop a pill, just ignore the feeling. Please do the Mandatory Healing. Before you hop from the top of that 40-story building, please do the Mandatory Healing. Dear cop, before you pop that poor civilian, please do the Mandatory Healing. How you stop the children. Only one way, Mandatory Healing. Check out that single on all platforms right now. And the album will also be available independently on even.biz. That's where you can find the album, The Healing Conversation.
Even.biz.
Even.biz. Yes.
EVEN.BIZ. Even.biz. Get the healing conversation, THC. So I got a little fast round for you. Got some fast questions for you. So finish this out with me. Finish this out with me. Hip hop begins to heal when
you surrender.
When you surrender. Shame. What conversation do Black men in particular need to give themselves permission to have?
Self-love.
What would you say directly to a young person who has been through incarceration, trauma, or circumstances that have convinced them that their story has already been written?
I'm sorry, repeat. It was a loaded question. Who's been through the circumstances and did what with the story?
What would you say directly to a young person who has been through those circumstances that have convinced them that their story have already been written?
Man, I would say that the show's not over. It's just getting started. I would say the brightest diamonds have to go through pressure in order to get it shine and come out the dirt shining. So, embrace the process and remember it's not just going through it, but it's about how you go through it, right? So be intentional. Make sure your mind, nourish your spirit, the people that you surround yourself with, the voices you listen to, and don't be impressionable, and also know your value. You know what I'm saying? Like, jail is a business and somebody monetizes every time you enter those doors. So once you know your value, you start taking back your power and start really creating your own framework versus allowing society to create it for you. You know.
Sure. My last question. When people finish listening to THC, the healing conversation, what do you want them to carry with them?
Mm,
Exactly the album title, Healing. I want them to carry, I want them to pack lighter than they came in. The final song on the album is called Let Go. And it's really about knowing you got to let go to get more. Like I said earlier in the interview, the blessing is waiting for us. Destiny is intended for all of us, but oftentimes we get in our own way, and that's what creates the blockages and the baggages. So, beautiful people, but we're packing kind of heavy, and so we got to really commit to, um, alleviating ourselves from those burdens, and that comes through tapping into the core, through the spiritual work, through not running from, but running to oneself, and know it's okay to be able to look in the mirror and say that, you know what, I don't have it all figured out. It's not a perfect world, but I do know that the Most High that created me didn't get me this far to leave me here. So let me really
Ashe.
lace up my own boots, right? And
Right.
not take a convenient approach. We live in a time where the algorithm can tell you anything that you want to make you feel justifiable, even in your mediocrity,
Right. That's
right?
Mhm.
Let's stop settling for the mediocrity because you saw a video on Instagram that told you what you want to hear, right? Let's avoid avoidance, right? Let's avoid avoidance by all means. Worst enemy, and growth is limitless, right? And the minute we say we got it all figured out, it's the minute that we become stagnant. And
Mhm.
we all want infinite potential in terms of depth, outcome, success, but it doesn't just fall out the sky. And I got to keep it real and say that, right? It requires being discomforted at times. And so with this album, I wanted to just breathe life back into us again. I wanted,
Mhm.
regardless of where it finds you, to know that there's a special gem in each one of us that needs to be reactivated and re-alived. And I pray that through this,
Mhm.
you know, we can be a conduit for such, and that this album, when you finish listening to it, it takes you there. That's the goal, and that's what you're saying
Sure.
so far about the listening sessions.
yo, shout out, shout out, shout out. I mean, listen to the language this brother is using. Listen to the vocabulary. Pay attention to his mannerism. Pay attention to the aesthetics. Look what he has on the wall behind him. Listen to what your brother is saying.
Such a
So
producer.
yeah, I mean, really, really, this is where we want our young people, the type of artists that we want. I know I do want my children to look at this type of artist, to receive this type of
Mhm.
message and get this type of healing from the music that they're listening to. Music plays such a big role in our lives. I'm going to teach you what Minister Farrakhan taught me. Mr. Farrakhan said you learn through two ways. You learn through what you see and what you hear. So he said that many of us aren't reading and studying, so that we're not using our eyes to learn, to feed our brain consciously, right? So what happens is our ears become a very important listening device learning tool, the most important in our lives. What are we listening to? How are we feeding ourselves? You need to get the THC. Make sure you check in with this brother so that you can be getting some of that medicine so that you're feeding your spirit the way that Minister Farrakhan, the way that this brother is teaching us to do it. And this is so important. Why is it so important? Because at the core of who we are, at the core of who we are, it's not this shell that you see. This is just the housing or the shell, the temple that we live in. Inside of this shell, there's the real you. What the brother talked about knowing self and knowledge of self and getting in tune with self, self-knowledge. That's what he's speaking of. What's inside of the shell. And his music is kind of like him holding your hand and say, hey, come here, let me show you this. I don't know if you saw it, but let me show it to you.
Mm-hmm.
How we want you guys.
You said it best right there.
Go get this music, please, and support this music because our people's lives are dependent on it.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's so divine to be dropping right now because there's a lot going on in the world. A lot of people, are going through it and don't have any outlets. And to be able to have a gift of this new music to walk you through, to help you not avoid what they say, dancing in the void, dance in the void to this to get you out of it,
And just
and
to
to
be,
help you. Mm-hmm.
us who feel like it's over, who feel like,
Mm-hmm.
is God done with me? Impossible,
I
right?
should.
Remind us of just reappraising that value again, putting that crown back on again. It's a song on there for the brothers, for our people who've been in those ICU rooms and didn't know if they were gonna make it or not, right? I wanted to breathe life again. So, we take on many forms of having the conversation, but it's all one common thread, and it's really like a book from top to bottom. So I pray that as much as we intend, the goal is accomplished.
Shay. Shay. So even.biz, even.biz is where you can find the healing conversation.
Yeah,
And
get off the plantation, and it's a process getting off the plantation, the music plantation, right? So music has been on the Spotify's and the Apple Musics, and but those platforms aren't really conduits. It's been created to really elevate the artist's business model and to really be a benefit to it. I would say it's more of a benefit to them than it is for the art. And the artists ride the wave because of the exposure, to be able to say, hey, you can buy my music here. But all along, what's happened over these past couple of decades is that the appreciation for the artist's work has been devalued. And so that's why it's when an artist puts out an album now, by the time you talk about it, you forget about it because it's not tangible for you anymore, right? So, when you were home and you were able to pick up that CD and read through the credits and put in your Discman and wipe it with alcohol, and you preserve that CD. Remember, you used to put the cassette in the fridge, whether it worked or not.
actual physical.
Yeah, remember you put that cassette in the stretch. That physical copy meant you of that body of art that you valued. Right now, when you press play, by the time that playlist, you want another playlist. It's a trillion playlists out here. So we wanted to consolidate again, and that's why sessions, the Healing Conversation listening sessions. We just did one in New York City. We just did one in Atlanta. We're looking at doing one in coming Saturday, and so we're just creating an even forum for this room again, and not just be on the app. You know what I mean? Not just scroll through the posts, but hey, guess what, y'all? We still want to be able to come outside and have community and have a conversation after the album and break bread and rub shoulders with each other. So so that's the goal here. And I will say with even that bid, it's really, revolutionizing process this round. And some of the singles you'll stream it, But with the album, for the initial rollout, it's going to be on a do-it-yourself.
Okay, so to my audience, to my vendors, to my small business owners, if you know your space is conducive to have a community forum where you would like to have a healing conversation with a provocative artist like Messiah Ramkissoon, uh, give us a call, link us, link him. Where can we find you, Messiah?
MessiahRamkissoon.com is my
Mm-hmm.
website. And also my social media, same as my name, Instagram or Facebook, these platforms, Messiah Ramkissoon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can find the movements there through how you can tap into the art, the music, the merch, the social justice work, and also, whatever you're building on and may want to share with your brother Messiah, so we
Mm-hmm.
can, build community with each other in the ways that I could, be of light to what you're doing. Please reach out. Let's build village. Let's not,
Mm-hmm.
let's not just look at this
Isolate.
and be
Get about
high tech. Let's
Mm-hmm.
like the American system. I was trying to remember the quote. Let's not just be high tech. Let's be high touch. That's what I was trying to say.
shit. But Messiah, I'm volunteering myself. Been working in film for almost 20 years. So I want to produce one of your videos, brother. So we're gonna talk offline. Let's get that. I'm gonna come up there with my crew. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna film. I don't live in New York anymore. Word. And we're gonna come up, son, and we're gonna film your video, man. We might even get two of them out the way, man. So let's make that happen, man. Word up.
That'll be
Love and
dope.
gratitude. I would love to work with you. I love the energy, man.
Love yours also, man. I love your work. I love what you're doing, man. And I'm gonna support that. So and supporting you by producing a video for you, man, that'll help you get out there a little further. I'm with that. Let's make it happen.
Thank you, King. I receive and appreciate that. Thank you.
Listen.
Thank you. I love this conversation. It's always home when you're building with family, man. And both of y'all got a real kindred spirit that's just really, hits home. So I'm thankful for just even with this conversation allowed. And I want to say thank you to the International African Arts Festival, one of our hubs that's a continuum, that we got to treasure, that it's on us to preserve this movement, to make sure that we're spreading the word to the village. So I want everybody who's, supporting THC in the healing conversation, to make sure that you come out to the African Arts Festival. And for those of you with resources, think about how you can sponsor, how you can donate, and ensure that we preserve our culture. It's upon us to preserve what's ours. So we don't have lost a lot of hubs and spaces over the years. So this is one of those ones that we have to protect and preserve. So I just want to say, in the spirit of that, thank y'all for having me as well. It's a blessing to even be interviewed under this umbrella.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. So, with that said, our motto is sustain the legacy, build the future. We want you to like, comment, subscribe, share this platform. You can find us at iaafestival.org. That's our website. IAA Festival on Facebook and Instagram. And please contribute. Become a cultural steward member where you contribute on a consistent basis. You can text to give, which is really easy. The number is 917-268-1592. And you can also, we're still in our 55th year. You can donate in any denomination of 5, which is in honor of the 55th year of the International African Arts Festival. So thank you for that, Messiah. And follow Messiah, MessiahRamkissoon.com. Is it Messiah Ramkissoon on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and you can. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it. Thank you for having me.
You're
Peace and
welcome.
love.
Thank you. Peace.
We'll be connected soon, brother.
Definitely.
My brother. Yes, sir.
Peace. Oh man.
That was a powerful.
That brother there, you know,
That Leo energy.
that Leo energy. But that brother's an angel. That brother's an angel. Look how his mannerism. He was the same even tone, even when he really put emphasis on his words. He kept that same energy, and he spoke and showed up as if he was teaching and sharing. He was giving life on that interview. That wasn't just about music. You know? Man, that brother was giving us life. Like he said, medicine. On the podcast. I hope you guys, did you get your medicine? Did you get your medicine?
Of course, no, but that's what our community needs, and that's what you will always receive at the International African Arts Festival. There is a place where you will be healed, you know, one way or the other.
And not even realizing that you needed it.
Exactly.
But when you see words like Messiah, Ramkissoon, right?
No. Messiah Ramkissoon, okay? Ramkissoon.
Yeah, that right? Like Ramkissoon. Yo, this
Ramkissoon.
Yes. In the Caribbean community, there's a thing where they used to call the DJs like ranking Joe or ranking this guy, right? Because they hated him, they respected him. That brother's ratings, his respect is up there. I really enjoyed having that dialogue with him, and not so much because of us, because we have the information, but he definitely was enlightening us. But for our viewers, this young brother sitting in his purpose, not just sitting in his purpose, fearless, without any doubt or hesitation about it. We talked about his experience, how he got to where he is, and what led to the music that he's putting out in the world. Right there to me,
that's where we are right now. We have to be, standing in our purpose with strength, with power, with courage of conviction, with no fear, just
purpose-driven life.
Direct and in alignment. He's always in alignment, and that's how he walks. And he's helping thousands of people with his work.
I'm producing our brother's videos. You hear me? When you see his video, and you're gonna say produce by Beware Van Zandt, you're gonna say, I told you I was gonna do it. Listen, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Make sure that you share this with someone. Make sure you like us. Make sure you subscribe. This is information that has to get put out in the ethos. It has to get put out in the atmosphere. Not because it's for us, but this is that medicine that the brother is talking about.
The healing conversation, right? All right, we're out. Thank you.
Peace.
See you next week.
Hey, guys, I'm coming at you right now, so no move.